Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. My name's Jim. I am your host. Thank you very much for following our channel and listening to our draft content. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's helping bring daily draft content to you on this channel. Josh, Jared, Bill, Brian, Parker, Randall, Brock, Jake, Dean, Devin, Newt, Jacob, Clint, David. These guys bring it every episode. We could not do daily draft content without the help of all of them. So let's get ready for this episode of Mrs. R Relevant, the Daily Draft Podcast. Thank you very much, and we look forward to talking to you in a few seconds. Well, welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. I'm here with Josh and Jake. It's always a good way to start off our Monday. So, Josh, how you doing?
Good. We're in finals week this week. One more week of school, and then we're full into this draft season. So, I need this week to get over with, but glad to be back on for another episode with you, Jim.
One more week, and you actually have a degree.
Yeah, I know.
We can't understate that. We can't understate that. So, good job, Josh.
Thank you. But no, glad to be back. Another episode with you guys. It's always awesome to be on here. So, yeah.
Okay. So, Jake, how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I mean, it's not finals week for me, but it's championship week across the league. We get to watch some great football this upcoming weekend, just coming off another great weekend of football. So we get to check out Georgia and Texas coming out, Penn State. Oregon. It's going to be a fun weekend just looking at these draft prospects for sure.
Okay, so we are going to get started with some linebackers, and I'm going to get Jake excited. He gets to talk about another Oklahoma linebacker. So, Jake, you want to kick off with Dasan McCullough from Oklahoma?
Yeah, Dasan McCullough is a very interesting prospect. I'll start out just by saying, obviously, Oklahoma fan base is going to be biased towards that, obviously, but this is a guy that should return to school outright. This is not Danny Studsman. This is not the reincarnation of Kenneth Murray. This is a guy at 6'5", 235, like you have listed. Great length for the position, kind of what you're looking for with this new breed of linebacker coming in. He actually plays the cheetah position for us over at Oklahoma, which is kind of a hybrid backer that plays a little safety as well. You'll see Dasan line up on the line of scrimmage a lot of the time and rush the passer. You'll see similar names that have come out in the past under Venable systems, primarily when he was at Clemson, being like an Isaiah Simmons, kind of similar mold in that, right? But Dasan, he still needs to refine his craft. And it kind of gives me a little bit of concern just since he transferred over to Oklahoma 3 seasons ago, where he was at Indiana, comes onto the scene, has 20 pressures as a freshman, and then it comes over to Oklahoma. And it's just not really turned the corner, we'll say. There's still a lot of refinement. What he does have going for him, though, is he is amazing in coverage. As a linebacker, this is a guy that could come into the league this year if he were to declare, and he can kind of be that third down backer for me right off the get-go, and he's going to be dynamic on special teams for you. So Dasan McCullough, as of right now, like I said, should go back to school, but if not, I do have an undrafted free agent grade on him just because of the fact that he doesn't offer much more than just a coverage linebacker for you at this time.
Josh, how about you?
So when we're talking about McCullough, let's just state the obvious. He's a freak build at the linebacker position. One thing that I really like about him is his versatility, like Jake mentioned. He's able to play off the ball. He's able to play back as a safety. And he's really effective when you line him up as an edge rusher. You don't see many linebackers with that length, that height, being able to do so many things at once on the field. And I think that alone is going to be able to give him a floor of a draft prospect. And like Jake mentioned, I really do like his coverage ability. You can't just stick yourself back as a safety at that height if you don't have some feel in coverage. And with his length and his movement skills, I do like what he brings in zone coverage. I do have a little bit of a concern with him in man coverage just because of that height. I don't know how he'll be able to handle those shorter, shiftier guys that he'll have to line up man-to-man coverage on. I don't think he'll have a problem covering guys out of the backfield, but this is a guy I want to see him refine his man-to-man coverage ability. And like Jake mentioned, this is a guy that needs well seasoning at the linebacker position. I think he brings a solid floor as a tackler and a run supporter, but that's about it. He's not going to be an overwhelming guy who's going to dominate the run support game. That's what Oklahoma is trying to mold him into. That's why you'll see him line up on the edge at times, line up as off-ball linebacker. He's really a chess piece, jack of all trades that's not really balanced or well good at one particular thing. But his play speed's good. I do like his ability to get to the quarterback, his pursuit, especially if you go back to the Indiana tape when he lined up on the edge. He got to the quarterback in a hurry with his arm length and his speed. That was one thing that really impressed me. But with that said, he needs a lot of refinement as an overall just well-rounded linebacker. I think this is a guy that you can take on day 3 just because of that size profile, that length profile. It's rare you see guys like that, almost like James Williams last year from Miami, that size profile from safety moving down the linebacker. You'll get drafted just because of your body type, but this is a guy that brings good versatility to the table. I like his play speed. I like his pursuit. Just needs a lot of seasoning when it comes to the overall aspect of playing the linebacker position. But this is a guy I definitely like, and if he returns next year, and we see him make those improvements as a linebacker, just overall, you could see his draft stock start to rise really quickly. But, yep, that's what I got.
I'll say he has been coming on as of late, specifically in the Alabama game. He did get his nose in there. I mean, there was a run against Tyler Booker, I think, that was coming across on a pull, slammed him in the helmet, dropped him at the line of scrimmage. I think it ultimately became a first down for Milroe, whoever's running the ball, which is fine. But like we were saying in coverage, I mean, he had a injury to start the season. I don't think he came on the field until like week 7, week 8-ish. And he's only allowed 4 receptions that since then for like 16 yards. So that just kind of tells you what you're getting out of coverage. But like Josh said, if he can take that next little step, this is the guy that we're talking about potentially early day 1, day 2 in next year's draft, specifically with guys like Danny Studsman leaving. Somebody's going to step up there, and it could be him. It could be a Kip Lewis. There's a couple other backers that could be there, but Dasan McCullough has got to be at the top of the list right now.
Okay. So this is a interesting situation, right? Because we got 3 vastly different grades, right? So Bill is coming in the chat. He's saying 3rd round. Josh said day 3, and Jake, the Oklahoma fan, says don't draft it.
Yep. Okay. I think Devin White is a currently version of Diet Devin White at this point in time.
Shemar James from Florida. So, Jake, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, for sure. Shemar is very interesting as well. Suffered a dislocated kneecap last season. Ugly injury. I think this season he's still kind of coming back from that. And you can kind of see that on the tape. He's not what he once was. So, again, this is a guy that I would probably say should return to school. This is kind of the leader of this Gator defense at this point in time. So I would like to see him go back. Again, this guy has a lot of those intangible traits as well as those physical traits that you look for in a linebacker. Obviously, a little bit undersized at 6'1", but he doesn't allow that to stop him. This is a guy that's very good off the blitz, and coverage still needs some work there, I think. But this guy, I mean, this has NFL linebacker written all over him. So I think if he does return for another year, this is guys similar to Dasan that could get drafted maybe day 2, early day 3. But I want to see just a little bit more out of him before I would declare him a draftable prospect at this point in time.
Yeah, that was one thing I noticed with Shemar. Him coming off that brutal injury, it's not like that he's lost his step in his film when you watch him. It's almost like he's a little too hesitant to trust his body, and that's well understandable. Going through that type of injury and then coming back and playing the amount of snaps he has this year, it shows the toughness that he brings right away to an NFL team, and that's something NFL teams will value. But you can't deny the fact that he has lost a step this year with his athletic ability. Coming out as a high schooler, he was an ultra-athletic uber linebacker, being able to roam sideline to sideline. And then this year, when you see him in the second level on run plays, he's not really fitting runs as well as he used to. He's kind of just sitting back, waiting for the running back or the lineman to come after him. And this is a guy I really do want to see return and get back to his full strength, because at full strength, like you mentioned, this is a guy that we can talk about in day 2, coming in as a rotational, turning into a starting linebacker for an NFL team. He's got those intangibles that you talked about. I like his toughness. I like his mental processing. He's trusted by Billy Napier. He's the leader of that linebacker room over there. And there's not real one concern that I have with him. He brings value as a pass rusher. I like his floor as a tackler. I like his floor in coverage, even though this year he's not as uber shifty and athletic with his lateral ability movements. But if he can get comfortable in his body again, this is a guy that will rise up boards. I think he'll return another year. But right now, I have a day 3 grade on him if he comes out this year. Want to see him get back to who he is as a player.
Okay, and Chris Paul from Ole Miss. So, Josh, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, so Chris Paul was a guy that popped in the PFF's database in one of their recent updates, and he popped in as a top 62 prospect. I'm like, okay, hold on. I need to dive into the tape. And when I tell you it's well warranted, it's well warranted. I got him at 6 foot, 5/10", 235 pounds. So a lot of these linebackers we're looking at, they're not going to be the strongest guy in the world. The NFL is moving into a more lighter coverage type linebacker roles, and Chris Paul fits that beautifully and doesn't lack in run support with that size. I think his man and zone coverage skills are good at the next level. I like his improved ability of tackling in the first and second level. I think he fits well with good mental processing. I don't think this is an uber athletic guy by any means. He got solid strength, solid speed. Not going to be a guy to roam sideline to sideline like you would want to see in some of these uber athletic guys. But I think this is just a well-rounded linebacker at the next level, a true Mike linebacker. You can line him up in all 3 phases. He has some experience rushing off the edge, but that's not his bread and butter. His bread and butter is sitting back there and being the green dot of the defense. And this is a guy I have a firm 2nd-round grade on. I think this is a guy that could be a rotational guy right away in the NFL and then turn into a starter in the later half of the year, but definitely a first contract starter for me. I like what Chris Paul has done this year for Ole Miss.
Jake, I would definitely agree. I don't know if I would go as early as round 2. I do have probably a top 100 grade on him, though, so I'd probably look at him in round 3 as of right now. Mm-hmm. But CP4 comes onto the scene this season as setting the world on fire. Spent 3 seasons at Arkansas, and like he said, he's improved as his tackling ability. He goes from a 50% missed tackle rate as a freshman, improves that to 9.8, and then improves it to 8.2, transferred to Ole Miss this season, drops it all the way down to 4.6. So that's a good missed tackle rate, means he is finishing. And like you said, this guy makes his hay off the little things. He's a quick processor. He gets to the ball very fast. He sees it and he triggers downhill right then and there. He's still got to refine some of that over pursuit kind of things. I saw it on tape a few times where it's a sweep around to the corner and he just overruns it. It cuts back underneath him. And that's something he does have to kind of fix, which at the end isn't going to be the end of the world. In coverage, I think he does enough for you. It's something that you could have him out there all 3 downs. He might not be elite at it, but he can drop into the zone. You can put him on a tight end a couple plays out of the game, and he's going to be fine. I think what you're getting for him in round 2, round 3 area is a day 1 starter and a potential green dot from day 1, which you couldn't say that for other than maybe 2 linebackers that came out last season. Right. So if you're getting that little discount on Chris Paul, I think that's more than enough. And the linebacker position in whole has been undervalued for the last 3, 4, 5-ish seasons. We're seeing a resurgence this year. So I'm super happy to see Chris Paul do as well as he has. And he's starting to get that recognition he deserves now too.
So out of all of the linebackers that we have discussed, like Josh, I know you were really high on Jihad Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you have Paul on your board right now as far as linebackers go?
With the linebackers we've graded, he's my linebacker 3. I said 2nd round. I mean to say day 2. So I have him teetering on the late 2nd round, early 3rd round. But yeah, this is my linebacker 3 right now.
And
I would agree.
Which two are ahead of him?
I have Jihad Campbell and Jalen Walker.
Okay, I would technically have him I put Walker more so as an edge, but yeah, I would have Walker, and I would also have Stutzman up there with Campbell.
Mm-hmm. Stutzman's right behind Chris Paul for me.
Yeah.
Okay. CJ Hicks from Ohio State. Josh, you want this one?
Yeah, so CJ Hicks has the ultimate body type you're looking for in a linebacker. I got him a little shorter, 6'2", 5/10", 233 pounds, junior, and has really struggled to find a consistent spot for Ohio State. He has the athletic ability, he has the play strength, he has the play speed, but he's almost so hesitant when he's in the off-ball linebacker spot. It's kind of a headache for Ohio State because he's natural when he's playing off the edge, even though he's undersized. That's where he thrives at. He has good get off. He has good pursuit to the quarterback. That's where he feels most comfortable at. But when you're asking him to sit 5-7 yards off the ball, fit a run fit a coverage assignment, make a pursuit tackle on a guy crossing an intermediate part of the field, it's almost like he processes everything one second too late, and that really does hinder his ability to make plays in the open field. That's why you didn't see him much against Michigan and a couple other the last few games that he's played. So it's going to be interesting to see how CJ Hicks develops because he has the athletic ability that you're looking for in a prototypical NFL linebacker. It's just him getting his head in his assignments where he needs to be as an off-ball linebacker, whether he needs to get more comfortable there. Because right now I have him as an adequate tackler, adequate run supporter, and adequate man cover backer. But with his athletic ability and his movement skills, he has the potential to grow into his body and become way better in those categories. So this is a guy that I would like to see either stick at edge next year or figure it out at linebacker, or if you need to, transfer out and become a starter somewhere where you can get those reps. Because if you mess up in those reps, but you're going 100%, teams are going to value that. When you're making mental mistakes and kind of moving a second too late for how good of an athlete you are, that's something that NFL teams are going to look at with a side eye like, come on, man, you're better than that. So right now I have a 7th round undrafted free agent grade, but with a guy this athletic, this is someone that you could see rise if he gets his mental processing in check, but it'll be interesting to see how he develops.
Jake, how about you?
Yep. Definitely agree. I know we've talked about a couple different prospects today that were like, yeah, this guy should return to school. I know CJ Hicks is going to return to school. Dude, he just hasn't seen the field. He's getting out snapped by Arvil Reese and Cody Simon. CJ Hicks was labeled as that starter to start the season, and it's just not there just yet. And just like Josh said, he's not seeing it. And we're talking an uber athlete, very highly regarded 5-star. There's no reason he shouldn't be seeing the field. I think, like Josh kind of alluded to as well, I think his future is on the edge with JT moving on and Jack Sawyer moving on to the draft. We're assuming this season. I think CJ Hicks moves out to there, and then that's when you get that predator out there again. And we see it all the time with these Ohio State edges that just they put it together. I think CJ Hicks will. And we're talking about him this year as an undrafted free agent 7th round pick. This is a guy that could be in the 1st round next season just because of his athleticism alone. So I think the future is very bright for CJ. I hope he sticks at Ohio State. I would hate to see a guy like him hit the portal. And this is a guy that could be paid a lot of money just next draft. So please go back to school, CJ, and we will praise your name for that. And I'm sure we'll be talking about you the same time next year on this same draft or this same podcast.
Yeah. And so Jake, you great minds think alike. You made a point that I want to emphasize is that if he's seeing the field at linebacker, we have to remember that Ohio State has 2 of the best edges in the country, right? We're not just talking about any edges that he can't unseat. We're talking about likely top 50 NFL draft picks that are in front of him. So I'm glad that you made that point. So let's finish out the linebackers with Deontae Lawson from Alabama.
I can start this one off. I love Deontae Lawson. It's very unfortunate his season did end with that lower limb injury is what they're calling it. It's a knee, just looking at the brace. We saw him on crutches on the sideline this week. 6'2", 230. We talked about Jihad Campbell, one of our highly touted linebackers in this class. Lawson outsnapped him for many a season. I mean, Lawson came onto the scene, and he is orchestrating that defense right now, or was until the injury. But Lawson does a lot of the good things that successful linebackers in the NFL do really well, and that's getting off blocks and making the tackle.
Mhm.
Lawson, I think James Foster put out the post last week before last. Dude has a toolbox of getting off blocks, which many linebackers at this stage of their career don't have. And I think that comes with Lawson's experience in a very good defense. So, again, this is a guy that can come in probably day one, would wear a green dot for you if you needed him to.
Mhm.
And it's I got to keep going back to that injury because it's super unfortunate timing for him as we go into this draft season, because this is a guy that won't play in a Senior Bowl, Hula Bowl, East West Shrine, or anything like that. And I would assume he's probably not going to use the combine to boost that stock either. So he's going to fall down boards. But this is a guy that I've pounded the table for out there, because I think Lawson is going to be a successful linebacker for somebody.
No, absolutely.
Josh, how about you?
You saw it last year when they played Michigan. He was the heart and soul of that team on that defense. He was the green dot. He's well respected by both Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer. And that injury, the worst timing possible. It's going to be interesting to see if he actually comes out now, because at the beginning of this cycle, yeah, he's 100% coming out. He's one of the few linebackers that could be a rotation / starter day one. But that knee injury is so brutal. But this is a guy that I think not only brings good toughness, good mental processing to the table. He's a leader. He's a vocal leader. He understands his assignments. And like Jake alluded to, before this season, his stack and shed ability was average at best. This year has been leaps and bounds better. It's teach tape at times. It's one of the best in this draft class. I think his tackling could be a little bit better. I like how he goes low. I like his athletic ability and his knee bend pre-injury, being able to make off-schedule, like off-platform tackles. I think he could get better at straight-up tackling, just head-on, one-on-one. But that's due to his adequate play strength in my mind, and that's something I think he could improve on at the next level. But everything else, I like his coverage ability a lot. I like his sideline-to-sideline play speed. I like his pursuit going after the quarterback when asked of him. I think this is a complete linebacker at times, but God, that injury sucks. I hate it. I hate when prospects have such a bad injury like that. It reminds me different players, different positions, but Andrew Voorhees 2 years ago when he injured his knee at the combine, he was a top 100 guy, falls all the way to the 7th round. And it's like, God, you just have to feel for the guy. But yeah, I'm a fan of Deontae Lawson right now. Even with the injury, I have a 3rd round grade on him. He should not fall out of day 2, no matter what. I'm really rooting for Deontae Lawson.
Would his injury allow him to be ready for NFL training camp, or is his rehab going to take him into the NFL regular season?
I haven't seen them actually disclose what the injury is.
Yeah.
So if it's an ACL, yes, it's going to take a lot longer. I mean, if this is something lesser than that, if this is a meniscus or something like that, I mean, he can 100% be back. But with him not disclosing it, and seeing that brace, that it was completely locked down, it's wrapped, it looks like he's post-surgery, if I had to assume, I think it's going to be a while.
Got it.
Yeah, he'll start on the IR, I would believe. But you just have to feel for guys like that, especially just tough leaders like that.
So before we begin running backs, the featured part of the presentation, the number of viewers always doubles as soon as we get to running backs. We're going to pause for a commercial break. Please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Please like the YouTube video, and please find at NFL Draft Fanatic. No, I am Fanatic on X or Twitter. And Josh, tell everybody who you are, how they can find you.
My name is Josh Townsend. I'm originally a college baseball player in pursuit of his dreams of making it into an NFL front office one day. So just absolutely grateful to have this opportunity to be on with you guys every week. We work day by day at this. There's nothing more I love in life than following your passion. If anybody's out there listening, follow your passion no matter what. Don't listen to anybody else. Even if it doesn't work, do what makes you happy. You can find me on Twitter at juice_T23. Please give Jake and Jim at NFL Draft Fanatic, at Jake at Glory Day Sports on Twitter a follow. These guys are amazing. They bring the best content out there. And yeah, thank you guys always.
Jake.
Yeah. Like Josh said, Glory Day Sports, all social media accounts. Check out the Morning Glory Show live every Thursday morning, 7 Central Standard Time. Join me, Be Well, and Jonathan Miller as we talk all things Titans and in future draft. So hop into that chat. Follow me on Twitter. I'm always posting something very stupid, probably in regards to the draft. So check that out as well. Yeah. And then follow Josh at Juice_T23 and NFL Draft Fanatic. No I for Jim.
No, I am fanatic. So I definitely want to thank everybody that is watching right now. This channel has draft content every day. So we're giving you linebackers and running backs now, and we're going to begin the feature presentation with running back Jaydon Blue from Texas. And the timing is perfect because I was watching that touchdown catch that he had this weekend live on TV. But Jake, can we expect more touchdown catches like that from Jaydon Blue, or is that a one-time deal, do you think?
No, I think Jaydon Blue is kind of what you look at this NFL running back archetype that it's kind of becoming a little bit undersized from what we call it in years past, but he is explosive at the wazoo, and he's putting it together kind of. He started the season out as Texas's RB1, and he's kind of taken a back seat to Wisner and even Jared Gibson. So these are younger prospects that are playing ahead of him. So that is something to concern. I don't know if they're younger than him. They have more eligibility than him, I'll say. So I think a lot of that comes down to is his ball security. He fumbled twice against Mississippi State, if I remember correctly, and that's kind of when they made that change. So if Jaydon Blue can work on that, I think we could definitely see some more touchdowns in his future. Again, this is a guy that's probably going to return to school or if not transfer. I don't think he's going to declare this season. I think this is a guy that could definitely end up in a different jersey color next season.
Josh, how about you?
So let's just say Blue comes out this year. What does he bring to an NFL team? It's like Jim alluded to, his receiving ability. In a day and age where running backs are asked a lot to do in the receiving game, that's where Jaydon Blue is most comfortable at. And you saw that against Texas A&M last week with the over top to defender back pylon catch. One of the best catches from a running back you'll see all season long. He's got good arm length. He's a good athlete all in all with good play speed. And when he's asked to run the ball, he's no slack at it. He's got good burst. He can accelerate through the hole. I would like to see him improve his vision if he's going to stay as a consistent 3-down back, because that's the whole reason why he really hasn't taken those carries along with his ball security. His ball security has been adequate at best. So if he improves his vision and his ball security, you could see way more hype for Jaydon Blue coming out this year and next year if he decides to stay. I also think he can improve his blocking chops a little bit. He has the size to do it. He has the arm length. I just want to see his use of hands be improved, anchored down when he's asked to pick up a blitzer. But again, Texas doesn't really ask Jaydon Blue much to do that, but he has the tools to do so. So I like his toughness. I think he can improve his mental processing and his vision and create in the open field to be a true running back. But as a receiving back, he brings a great floor to the NFL right away. This is definitely a draftable guy if he comes out this year. I have him around 6th to 7th round grade just because this running back class is ridiculous. So you'll see a lot of juniors who really aren't at the top echelon of running backs come back, and Jaydon Blue is probably going to be one of those guys.
Okay, so we're going to go with Jordan James from Oregon now. Josh, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, Jordan James has had an amazing year for Oregon, taking over for Bucky Irving leaving last year, and he's really been the bell cow of that offense going on their 12-0 season so far. For me, he projects as a first and second down back. I like his vision, especially in gap runs. For me, I have him at 5'9", 1/10", 210 pounds. It's a well-built lower center of gravity running back, and he's a tough runner in between the tackles. It's one thing I really like about Jordan James. I like his ability to finish for a shorter running back. His play strength's good for me, and he doesn't lack in play speed. It's not a burner who's going to be able to outrun everybody with 4.4, 4.35 speed, but he has more than enough speed to be able to break open runs in the open field. I would like to see him improve himself in his receiving game, being more of a viable option just instead of dump downs and screens. And that's something that Oregon really doesn't ask a lot for him to do because they have so many explosive playmakers on the outside. But I also don't think that's going to be his bread and butter in the NFL either. Again, this is a first, a second second down guy. We're talking about early down run guy. And I also like his ability in short yard situations and in the red zone. This is a guy that's going to be able to turn those 2 to 3 yards on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. You can give Jordan James the ball. You know he's going to go head first and get the first down for you. I love his toughness. I love his mental processing. In a deep running back class this year with over 1,000 yards rushing this year, I have him around a 5th round grade. Like I said, this is an early first down runner, second down runner. You can give the ball to, you know, he's going to get 3 to 4 yards a carry.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think this is a guy that might get drafted a little bit higher just based on the team that he's playing for. And people see that Berkey Irvin that was breaking out this last Sunday. And I think people will look at the same jersey and go, okay, this is the reincarnation of him. He just doesn't have the contact balance for me to look at him at that level just yet. And this is such limited workload. This is really his first year of being the bell cow, like Josh alluded to. I do like what he has as a receiving upside, but it's got to be more than just that jump off, like Josh alluded to as well. So I think this is a guy, day 3 pick. He said 5th round. And we kind of talked about it pre-show as well, is this is such a deep running back class that, yes, I would see this guy last year as a 5th round pick. But just because of everybody that's coming out this season, I think this guy could get pushed down the board a little bit. And then you could get a 1st or 2nd down runner 6th, 7th round even. So I would kick him down one more round personally. I think this is a 6th round prospect right now. But just based on what I've seen on consensus board, this is a guy that's going to get drafted a lot higher than that. So it can be anybody's game. It's just going to be one person's draft darling, and he could go in the 2nd round for all I know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think we kind of agree. Same talent type, 5th-ish, 6th-ish round. Somebody's probably going to get a good running back on 1st and 2nd down.
Yeah, no, I went on NFL Draft Buzz and I saw them ranked as RB3. So I like directly messaged Bill. I was like, Bill, am I missing something with this guy? Why the hell is he RB3 in this draft class on a website? No knock to Jordan James. I love what he brings, but yeah, consensus media is really high on Jordan James.
Tajh Brooks from Texas Tech. Jake, you want to kick this one off?
I'll kick this one off. I love Tajh Brooks. I will say it outright. I mean, 22 breakaways this season. That is borderline elite. My comp, I wrote down a wild buffalo, which I know Jim, Buffalo Bills fan. The buffalo is, and you might already know this, but it's the only animal on earth that when there is a thunderstorm, it runs towards it. It wants to get to that center and on the other side. And Tajh Brooks does that to NFL defense or to college defenses right now. Instead of a bell cow back, he's a buffalo back, is what I wrote down. Into the storm, common space is kind of what I was talking about right there. When he's between the tackles, that jump cut, it's hitting you multiple times, almost every play. People are bouncing off and flying off him at 230 pounds, low center of gravity. Dude is playing in 5 o'clock traffic out there. Frogger was definitely his favorite game as a kid. I can tell you that. So this is the guy that I think we're talking about consensus. I don't think this is the guy that's people are high enough on right now, because Tajh Brooks, he offers some in the receiving game as well, even at that size. So, and like Bill Sparks alludes to in the chat, Tajh Brooks, my guy in this NFL draft cycle, my comp for him is Jamal Lewis, my RB5 and a top 40 pick for me, a human bowling ball. I would 100% agree. Maybe not top 40. That's a little bit high for me right now. I would probably say top 40 prospect right now. I think it's going to get pushed down a little bit. But this is a guy I think could be a 3-down running back for somebody. And I think you can get him potentially in round 3 or round 4 right now. So that just tells you the prospect you're getting him. And then, like I said, he's got those breakaway runs this season. I think he had like 64 broken tackles this season, and he led college football in broken tackles last season. That's going against some high praise, or just a lot of great talent from last year. So that's Tajh Brooks for you. Texas Tech putting it out there.
Yeah, Tajh Brooks is one of those guys. When you turn on a couple games and you go through his evaluation, you don't overthink it. You love everything that Tajh Brooks brings to the table. Consistency. He doesn't have one game this year with under 100 rushing yards. And yeah, that's not the end all be all. But for that alone and being Texas Tech's all-time leading rusher, it's got to count for something. This guy is awesome. I've loved Tajh Brooks all the way this year. With my other internship, I'm scouting South Region prospects, and Tajh Brooks is on the top of my board for running back prospects. I absolutely love Tajh Brooks. I love his athletic ability. I love his vision, especially in the second level. I love his elusiveness, change of direction. He is so calm in his body. His movement skills in the open field, he's always controlled. He always knows when to make the right exact cuts. He's never out of control with his body. He's never stumbling. I think he brings good blocking to the table. I think he could refine that a little bit, but the effort's always there, and he's a quick mental processor. He picks up on that right away. He finishes every run. He brings good play strength to the table. I like his receiving chops, even though Texas Tech doesn't ask him to line up on the outside, be kind of like that versatile running back. I think if you ask Tajh Brooks to do that at his weight, I think he can do it. And that's saying a lot for a guy weighing 230 pounds like we have him listed right here. I don't think there's one thing this guy does bad on the football field. My only knocks on him, I think he has solid play speed. I don't think this is a guy that's going to burn everybody away with the 4.4, 4.35 like we've alluded to. I think this is a high 4.4 runner. I don't think it's a detriment, not at all. And I think his ball security could improve slightly, but it's not a detriment to him at all. It's not a thing that's costing Texas Tech their games. Tajh Brooks has been the bell cow of that Texas Tech program. Really a guy that's transcended that program and flipped it around a little bit these last couple of years, ever since Mahomes left and they went on that downward. He's really brought it back up a little bit. So, yeah, he's RB6 for me right now. If this guy falls out of round 2, if I'm a GM, he's on the top of my round 3. I don't see this guy getting out of day 2. I love Tajh Brooks.
Okay, so Josh, Brooks or Devin Neal? Who's higher?
Brooks. And I love Devin Neal. It's Brooks.
How close is it?
It's really close. It's really close. I love it. Yeah.
Got it. Well, no, and I know that you like Devin Neal. Like that was the first episode of Running Backs that we did many, many weeks ago. But it's good to hear. It's good to hear that we're identifying some players that are pretty high, and maybe the world doesn't know who Tajh Brooks is because there's Ashton Genty, and then there's Caleb Johnson and Omarion Hampton that a lot of people have right behind him.
That's just a testament to this running back class. I mean, we're talking about Devin Neal and Tajh Brooks, both fantastic running backs that will translate well to the NFL. Talking about them in round 3. Yep. And yeah, the running back position is devalued, but it's just a testament to this running back class this year. It's something we haven't seen in a long time.
And to give the audience that's listening, and there's a lot of you listening, we took the approximately 30 running backs that we have to kind of slot for a draft board, and we divided them among, let's say, about 7 episodes. So we haven't even done Ashton Genty yet, and we haven't done Caleb Johnson yet either.
Nick Singleton as well, Brashad Smith. Yeah, there's a bunch of guys that haven't done yet.
So you want to come back next week because I think Smith and Johnson are in next week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next running back, Raheim Sanders from Arkansas.
Let me get to Raheim. Yeah, I'm on him. So Raheim was a guy in 2022 that I loved. I think the whole country loved him in 2022. He was one of the best running backs in college football in 2022. 2023 with Arkansas was an injury-filled year. He took a step back. He wasn't as decisive as a runner. He didn't live up to his nickname, Rocket. He didn't burst through the hole like he did in 2022. So it's like, okay, you started the year in 2023 as a top 4, top 5 running back, and you're going all the way down to barely a day 3 prospect. Okay. Transfer over to South Carolina, and you started to see Raheim Sanders start getting back to the way he was. And yes, he has his deficiencies. He's limited in who he is, but this is a thumper of a running back. Great size to the table. I have him at 6 foot 2/10", but 230 pounds. He plays like a bowling ball, and he's a good athlete in the open field for someone his size. I like his vision's improved this year. He has that burst for a guy that's that big. His play speed is going to be solid at best. He's not going to be a guy that runs down the field, runs past everybody, but that's not his name and game. He's a strength guy. He's a finish/yard after contact guy. He's a bruiser. He's going to lay a shoulder into someone, and he's going to be a hard tackle for all the smaller linebackers in the NFL now. So he's going to be an adequate receiving back just because of his size. You know what he's going to bring you. I think he needs to improve his ball security. For me, that's the thing that really has him down as like a true day 3 running back. He needs to improve his ball security. But for me, if you need a powerhouse running back, Raheim Sanders is right there with like the Khalil Mulling of this draft as one of those guys that can be a thumper. And don't underestimate his athletic ability. This guy can move in space for a guy that big. So right now I have a day 3 grade on Raheim Sanders, but he's one of my personal favorites. I'm rooting for Raheim Sanders, and I hope he does well.
Jake, what do you got?
I think it was good for Raheim to return to school this last season because I looked at him last year because there was talks about him potentially coming out, and I didn't see him as a draftable prospect then. I definitely see him as a draftable prospect now. We talked about Tajh Brooks, very similar-esque build, but they're very different in their play styles. Sanders, he runs angry. He wants to hit you. He wants to run through you. And he has the ability to do that at that size. So like Josh alluded to, you're getting a thumper for you that has soft hands, surprisingly to me. Mm-hmm. So he's not going to get out there. He's not going to route you up in the slot, but he could take a wheel route, I think. And he's got that ability when he's in open field to make people miss and get that big play for you. I think where he is underrated is probably in his pass pro. He brings that running style to that pass pro. It might cause him to lean a little bit at times, but he's going to hit you in the hole if he needs to. And that's something we can't say about a lot of these prospects that we're talking about today or in these past weeks. So I think Raheim probably 6-ish, 7-ish round, but this is a guy that's going to stick on an NFL roster, I think. Oh, yeah. He's going to get drafted.
And do I have the school wrong? Is it Arkansas or is it South Carolina now?
It's South Carolina.
Yeah, so he transferred from Arkansas to South Carolina. I grabbed the wrong picture.
Because they were like the biggest backfield in the world with KJ Jefferson and Raheim Sanders.
Yes, so Jarquez Hunter just accepted a Senior Bowl invite. I believe that was either yesterday or today. But Jake, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, Jarquez, he's been doing it for Auburn for a long time now. I mean, this is a guy that's kind of came out as a freshman, was putting it on a show, him and Tank Bigsby. And Jarquez, he's taken over the backfield, and he's in that bell cow position now, and he's doing everything he can with that. He's listed at 5'10", 209, but he runs bigger than that. He does get a little square to the line of scrimmage almost every play, and that's something that I think he needs to work on. But if you give him a lane, he will take that and that much more. 12% of his runs are breakaways this season. So he's a big play machine. Every 8 carries, he's breaking a long one. So that just kind of tells you it's a numbers game at that point in time. So like you said, he's getting the Senior Bowl invite. So I want to see more of his receiving ability. I want to see how he can improve in pass pro and how he can use those one-on-ones to move up draft boards, because I think he has that ability. I think Jarquez, in a similar role to many of these prospects that we're talking about in the running back class today, he's undervalued, I think. I think this is the guy that's going to get underdrafted and overperform very early in his career. I would like to see him land with a player's coach, a Dan Campbell, the Harbaughs, Mayo, Tomlin, because he runs angry as well. And I think one of those coaches is going to get the most out of him. His inner monologue is not nice. I can tell you that right now just by looking at him as a player. So I really like Jarquez as well. So it's like another guy that's going to get pushed down draft boards just because of the talent in this pool. So I would take him probably round 4. But again, I think he's going to fall round 5, round 6, probably.
Yeah, and the NFL team's going to get steal in round 5 if he falls that way. I mean, this is a guy, when you're talking about a well-rounded running back, Jarquez Hunter is one of those guys. Over 3,000 career yards, 3-year feature back, was paired up with Tank Bigsby, like you said. He's a seasoned veteran with very good mental processing. He's a tough runner for his size. He's, like Jake alluded to, he's an angry type of runner. brings surprising speed and yard after contact ability for a guy his size. That was something I was really impressed with watching his film. He can align on the outside as a receiver if need be. He has good vision between the levels, low center of gravity running back, which are my kind of running backs. I like those lower center of gravity running backs, able to be a little more shifty, elude tackles better. He has clean stop-start ability, easily gets the top speed. For me, this is an ideal zone scheme running back that brings IQ, toughness, and a well-balanced game with a combination of vision, speed, and strength. He has limitations as a receiver and a blocker, but that's just because of the size profile. That's not a guy that's going to be overpowering in both of those aspects of the game, but this is a well-rounded running back. This is a guy who's going to stick for multiple contracts and be a contributor as a rotational running back in the first couple of years of his career. And if you need him to spot start, he's going to do more than a reliable job. This isn't a guy, if you put him out there as a starter, going to get 10 carries for 30 yards or 10 for 25 yards for a 2.5 yards per carry. No, he's going to get the job done. And he's going to get a job done well. I really like Jarquez Hunter. Like you said, I got a 4th to 5th round grade on him just because of his running back class, like we keep alluding to. But if he falls past that, I mean, somebody's getting a steal. I love Jarquez.
Okay. Bhayshul Tuten from Virginia Tech. Hopefully I said that name effectively. So, Jake, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah. Tuten is a intriguing prospect to me just because there's so much I like and so many questions I still have in regards to him. This is a guy that has not as many attempts as a lot of the guys that we're talking about today, but breaks a tackle every third attempt, 0.32, which is elite numbers, top 4 in this class. So this is a track athlete with a low center of gravity. That's what we're looking at. And I think Virginia Tech does a great job of getting him in open space. Mm-hmm. They use him on outside zones and sweeps and getting him on the perimeters. And I think he does a great job there. I want to see more between the tackles. And we talked about it just a second ago, but this is a guy that got a Senior Bowl invite as well. So we're going to get to see a little bit more of that in Mobile. So I think this is the guy I would probably have an early day 3 grade on right now, but the sky is the limit right now for me. I could see this guy soaring up draft boards just based on his combine numbers and the showing out of the Senior Bowl. So this is a guy I'm labeling there right now, but I'm watching. I'm keeping an open eye out for him because he could shoot up my board here pretty soon. What he does need to work on, though, is ball security. 4 fumbles this season. That is by far that's more than any person that we will talk about on this podcast for the running back position. Nobody else has more than 3. He's got an extra one. So that's something he does need to fix. And that just could come down to his he's still not new to the position, but he has limited touches right now. But it's never great to have limited touches and then also have the most fumbles. Just say it.
And I'll do you one better. 9 fumbles in the last 2 years. So it's not just this, it's last year too. That's my concern with Tuten. That's my concern with Tuten because he's going to make money in Mobile. He's going to make a lot of money in Mobile because let's talk about it. Burner. He's got very good play speed, and you can see it. I mean, 200-plus rushing yard performance, outrunning everybody in the open field. You could just see he's a better athlete than everybody else when he gets in the open space. This is an ideal zone runner. Like you alluded to, this isn't the guy you want in between the tackles. That's where I want to see the improvement in between the tackles, playing more of a rugged style. But it's not like he's not strong. He bounces off of defenders in the second level. He has the good yard after contact ability, which is something really good looking at this guy's profile. I like his receiving chops just because of that athletic ability. Get this guy in open space. Talking about a guy like Jordan James, he's a guy that gets it on dump down and screens. Well, if you get Tuten the ball in dump downs and screens, yeah, it's going a long way really fast, and it's happening like that. Tuten's one of those guys that if you get the ball to him in the open field, he's going to make a play. But like Jake alluded to, I need to see improvements in blocking, and he needs to fix the ball security. It's not a mental processing issue. It's not a toughness issue. It's a ball security issue. If he fixes that, he's going to rise up draft boards. But like you said, I got a 4th round grade on him, firm 4th round grade. I think if the right zone scheme running team gets his hands on him, watch out because this guy's a burner.
This is a guy that's going to get drafted by a team, and when he shows up to that facility on day one, I remember it many years ago, Tajh Sharp, when he was drafted by Tennessee, he showed up to the facility holding his own personal football. He walks in, and the staff is like, hey, we've got footballs. You don't have to bring your own. He's like, no, this is mine. Nobody's taking it from me. I want that attitude, and I want him to improve that ball security, and I want him to take that personally. I want him not leaving the house without a ball, and I want two hands on it the entire way. He's got to get better at it, and if he does, this is a guy that's going to soar up boards, and he's going to be a very, very good NFL running back.
Okay, the big finish, Kyle Monangai from Rutgers. So, Jake, you want to start this one off?
Yeah, Monangai is a fun prospect to watch. Dude has rabies. He is out there. He runs like he wants to bite people. I mean, he's feral with the ball in his hands. As soon as he gets it, I'm sure many people in the chat, you've seen the movie 300. This is Gerard Butler sitting there in a loincloth with a helmet, screaming as he charges at the enemy every time he gets the ball. And I love it. I just picture him under that face mask screaming as he runs towards the line of scrimmage. I think with the Rutgers background, I think a lot of people are going to kind of compare him to that Isaiah Pacheco. And I think they kind of have similar running styles. But I think Monangai, there's a reason we're talking about him as a day 2 prospect. And Pacheco went undrafted, if not 7th round, I don't recall. But Monangai, what he does need to improve on is the little things, the pass pro. He could refine his route running. I think he can catch the football, and I would like to see him be a little bit more dynamic with how he breaks tackles. He can slip off the arm tackles, but I want to see a little bit more power, and I think he's going to get stronger as he progresses. And by no means is this a guy a burner like Pacheco. He's got some good speed. He's probably 4.4. Mid 4-ish, and Pacheco, I mean, he's a demon. So Monangai, I really like his tape. I don't know if he's going to get that bell cow role at the next level, but as a rotational piece, you slip it in there, do a jet sweep to him, get him in an offense that's going to utilize what he does well and allow them to scheme him into positions to where he can be successful. If this guy, like Pacheco, if he ended up in Kansas City, dude would be amazing. Amazing. Get him in San Francisco. Obviously, they're down to Isaac Guerendo, who we would have probably talked about in this podcast last year if we were doing it. But, I mean, this is a guy that could be very successful, and I think that's why he's getting so much love right now from the draft community. And I'm really excited to just see what he does because I love just watching his tape. It's exciting. We're talking highlight tapes, which, going back to the draft community, people frown upon when you watch a highlight tape of a player. When you're watching a running back's highlight tape, it can tell you a lot if you're looking for the right things. How do they get to the end zone? How are they doing that? Are they winning with speed? Are they using their vision? Are they being patient? Are they doing those things? Or are they just running through open lanes and walking into the end zone? Kyle Monangai, I think, might have a top tier highlight tape that's going to translate to the next level.
Absolutely agreed. And let's just contrast Tuten to Monangai. Talked about Tuten's fumbling issues with 9 fumbles in the last 2 years. This guy has had significant snaps for the past 4 years, been the key starter for the past 2 years, and he hasn't fumbled one time.
Yep.
Those are the little things when you're looking at Kyle Monangai, like, okay, you can trust him on day one, and you know he's going to give you everything he's got. I think Isaiah Pacheco rubbed off on him a little bit with his tenacity. I'm not going to lie. He's like a little Tasmanian devil in the open field. Low center of gravity running back, but he runs with that shoulder load chip on his shoulder. He's looking to find contact just so he can bounce off of it. And he's able to elude defenders in the open field too. So he can win multiple ways when he gets to the second level. I think he's a well-experienced running back. Think he brings toughness in all phases. I like his vision behind the line of scrimmage as well, along with his creativeness in the open field. Like Jake mentioned, this isn't a guy that's going to burn you across the field. Like most of the running backs that we've mentioned so far, this is going to be a 4-5 guy, a high 4-4 guy. It's not going to be a detriment like we've talked about, but it's not a strong suit for him. I love his play strength for his smaller size. I love his finishing ability. And if you look at his 2023 tape, there's some flashes of really awesome pass pro. It's in there. It's just refining it. It's getting it more consistent, being able to stay in phase at the right moment at the right time, because he has it in him. He has the ability to do so. And I think once he gets into an NFL locker room, he'll be trusted to do that. It's just once he gets into the NFL, going through those growing pains, being able to adjust, because he has the tape that shows he can do it. And like you mentioned, he's going to be an adequate receiving back. Rutgers doesn't ask him to do a lot in the receiving game, but when asked to, he has soft hands, surprisingly. He's able to adjust the balls outside of his frame. So he has the ability to. It's just not a strong suit of his game. But I love his mental processing. I love his toughness. I love just the style of runner Kyle Monangai is. I love the style of football that he plays. And right now, I have a top 100 player grade on him. I think this is a guy you can see in the bottom half of the third round. And if he falls in the fourth round, like a lot of running backs do, with my board, he should be one of the first guys taken.
Okay. So did either of you guys see the Sunday night game yesterday between San Francisco and Buffalo in the snow?
Yeah.
I missed the second half.
Okay.
And Josh Allen, he ruined my fantasy day as he always does.
Okay. So in a game like that where everything had to be straight ahead, there wasn't a lot of cutting, right? Which of the running backs that we talked about today do you think would play best in a situation where it's you're essentially running straight and you have to have that little bit of wiggle? And I mean, Garendo and Ray Davis did really well yesterday, and both of those guys are rookies. But which of these guys maybe has the style for, and you can either pick a San Francisco offense or the Bills offense as to how they would fit in. But I like straight line running backs.
I can give you one.
You got it.
I was going to say, I can give you one of each. If I'm talking Buffalo, I think Kyle Monangai is the most similar to a Jared Cook-esque style. Jared looked like he was running in just normal grass. I mean, and I think Kyle Monangai has that ability as well. If I'm looking at San Fran, I think Jarquez Hunter fits that scheme very well. I think he's going to get north and south, and he's just going to hit that gap, and he's going to run up the seam. So I love both. Bill in the comments alludes to Tajh Brooks, and I think that's great. I think Tajh would be very successful because he has the size just to fall forward once that contact hits, and he's going to lower the boom. And I mean, even Raheim, he could fill that role too for you. But if I'm thinking just who's going to break one for me, I'm going Hunter or Monangai right now.
I'm looking at that field last night because it wasn't just a snow spectacle. Legitimately, people couldn't get out of their stance. They were slipping. Like nobody could get their footing at all. So if we're talking about that, I love the running backs that we've talked about, but I would have to go with like the Jordan James out of Oregon or the Raheim Sanders out of South Carolina, just because I know those are the guys that's going to go for 2 or 3 yards and get the quality yards you need to get first downs. Because a lot of these guys, they're really elusive, low center of gravity, able to make people miss in the open field. I don't want Tajh Brooks slipping when he's getting out of his stance. That would hurt my heart. So
fantastic. So I believe we finished. Yep. So that is the last running back. So I want to say thank you, and we want to say thank you to the 150 of you that are watching right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please subscribe to be notified on YouTube for whatever content is coming on the channel. There are days where this channel has 2 or 3 podcasts. Sometimes we're broadcasting them at lunch. Sometimes they're at night. We have draft content just like this coming at you every day. Give Josh a follow on Twitter at juice_T23. Give Jake a follow on Twitter at Glory Day Sports. Find their content. This is a great way. This is my favorite way to kick off the week. It's a great way to kick off the week. We talk running backs. We talk linebackers. I believe we've got 3 more of these coming. And we have Ashton Genty in the Big Finish. So if you want to hear Ashton Genty, still have 2 episodes before we get to him. But on behalf of Jake, Josh, my name's Jim. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you for watching this episode of Mrs. R Relevant. I would like to remind you of our schedule. On Mondays, we have running backs and linebackers. Tuesdays, we have tight ends. Tuesdays, we'll also have defensive backs. Wednesdays, we have offensive tackle and edge. Thursdays, we have interior offensive line and defensive tackles. And on Friday, we close out with wide receivers and corners. There will be additional episodes on edge and offensive line that are scattered throughout the week. Please like the NFL Draft Fanatics Twitter and X page at NFL Draft Fanatic, no I in Fanatic, to stay up to date on every episode. Thank you very much for watching the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast.